106.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 20 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Brigitte Smith is in the studio. You've probably heard it on our airwaves before, and she's back. She is a candidate for Florida State Representative District 22. She wants to represent you and I up in Tallahassee. In addition to her candidacy, she's a registered nurse. She's a certified operating room nurse. I don't know if that's the same thing, but I'll let you explain that if you want to. Also, she's a veteran. There's not too many candidates that can actually say that. And if you ever listen to one of the previous interviews we did with Brigitte, you'll hear a little bit more about that. She's a direct commission as the first lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve. You have a farming background, right? Mm-hmm. You are definitely a leader, a humanitarian, and again, a candidate for State Representative District 22. How's the campaign going?
Oh, boy. Campaigning is the hardest thing you do in your entire life. But I tell you, going through the process, you find out a lot about yourself and then a lot about how government works. It's an amazing process to go through this civil endeavor. So,
and what are the people wanting to know? What kind of things are people asking you?
Oh gosh, it's kind of been a real new motto for me. It's like real people, real issues, real solutions. Because the issues that I'm finding, and speaking to just the everyday working class people like ourselves, is that Common Core, they still call it Common Core, even though Tallahassee in 2014, all they did was change the name Common Core to Florida Standards. Mm-hmm. Seems to be a big issue in today with our people here. And quite honestly, my middle she's 20 now, but she graduated at 18. It was an issue. She was always not on great English. She was always in a remedial English class. But when she stepped across the stage, this was a shocker. She graduated cum laude. I'm going to my husband. That's with honors, right? Now, how does that happen with a student that's never, ever on great English? So we have some issues in the public school system. We have now. I'm a graduate of a public school system, but I'm 51 years old. It was a long time ago. So something along the way has changed in our education, taking out certain things. Common Core is a direct link to globalization and things like that. So we need to look at our standards and reteach some things.
Does it water down the history of this nation?
Yes, it does. Actually, I was just on Facebook this morning talking about this, and somebody told me, now I'm a big advocate of our Declaration of Independence, mm-hmm. our Constitution, Bill of Rights. They all three go hand in hand. Our Declaration of Independence is our foundation to the Constitution. Now, if you think about it, if your foundation cracked on your house, what's going to happen to your house? Mm-hmm. It's going to implode. Well, our Declaration of Independence talks about God and natural law 4 times, but people can't articulate that to you. So some states I've heard that don't even allow the Declaration of Independence taught. And that's because God's mentioned in there 4 times. Probably why. Yeah, right, so we've got big issues. And the students today, you look, there's a left cultural shift, and we wonder why. And I think it's because we failed our students. Somewhere along the line, the families have been broken, which I understand for many different reasons. You got parents taking working 3 jobs and so forth. I remember being drugged to Sunday school when I was a child, and I can thank my parents every day. Thank God that they did, because it gave me my moral background to be able to do so. So we just... somewhere along the line, society has shifted. I've raised 3 young conservative women, and thank goodness, and it's very hard in today's society to do that. But we need to just restore our education system so that at least they're hearing about the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and things like that.
Yeah, there was a piece in the news this morning, you might have heard us talk about it, where the president is being called out and made fun of, whatever, because he said that you need, and he was trying to make the point that you need an ID to vote.
That's right.
And he said you even need an ID to buy groceries. And so they're picking on that. They're not even focusing on the real thing he's trying to say.
That's right.
Which is you should have an ID to vote.
You should have an ID to vote. That's correct.
Yeah. And I'm sure what he meant was if you buy groceries with a check.
Right.
Or a debit card.
Right.
Anything that has to identify you. So,
right.
But that's what I think conservatives are up against, is people who have these, arguments that aren't really that well thought out, and yet they speak louder, and they have a higher platform.
They do speak louder. And if you look at the socialistic tendencies, it doesn't work. And I made a statement the other day in Denell at a debate. I go, who's paying for all these? Free everything,
right,
but
right.
The well's going to run dry. I mean, where is it coming from? I mean, like I said, as a conservative, I've made very good decisions in my life. Going to public school, I went to community college. I was only able to afford 2 classes at a time, but I went to community college, and then I, worked and going to school at the same time. And, then I took paralegal classes at first, and I realized that's not what I want to do. And I went into nursing, and I've been there ever since. And by making good decisions, and, you're in a trench, what do? You pull up your boots and pull up your coat sleeves and dig your way out. Believe me, I've made mistakes in my life. We all have. But you try and dig yourself out and don't do that same thing again. But you can't expect government to give you everything. This is not a society of giving. You can't take from one to give to another. And that's but yet the cultural shift is that it's entitled. We're not, the society has changed to entitlement society and immediate gratification. It's not about that.
Do you know, if you were in a debate with somebody like Charles Schumer.
Oh my gosh.
I think you would win hands down. And this guy is probably one of the most powerful senators we have.
He is.
But I really think that if it was just him and you up on a stage trying to make points, I think you would win.
Well, I get very passionate, and that's why running is for the people. And I'll be the first to tell you I'm not perfect and I have not all the answers, but I do this because the bureaucracy of government is huge. Can you fix it? Probably not. But what I can do is be a voice for the people and stand up and question things, even if you don't get your legislation passed, you at least be the voice and make yourself accessible to people. I'm a nurse. I'm flexible. Not everybody's on the same schedule as you are. So as a nurse, we realize the importance of flexibility and real issues, like we said earlier, for real people and real solutions. It's not about things that Tallahassee and special interests want to do. The only special interest that's in my campaign account is for the people. They need to be the special interest for change, is the people.
I admire something I want to point out to you about you. I speak to a lot of people, and I speak to a lot of candidates, and a lot of candidates have really good ideas, and those ideas tell me how they will vote. So, and you're doing the same thing. However, there's one thing about you that I think is important, and I'd like to point that out. And for the listeners, if you haven't already noticed it, the leadership that you demonstrate is outstanding. And a person who has some good ideas but doesn't have leadership skills will only apply those good ideas to her vote once you're elected into that office.
Right.
But a person with good ideas with leadership skills will influence the other legislators to maybe change their mind if they're not voting in what you feel is the best way.
That's the right.
And
exactly.
That's, I think, the influence you'll have on the body of representatives that we have up in Tallahassee.
I'm hoping, like I said, we don't have all the answers. I'm not a politician that's polished. I'm Brigitte, and somebody said the other day, Brigitte, just be yourself, and that's what I'm trying to do, and let the people decide on August 28th who they want representing them. And your previous speaker was amazing because he talked about how do you do this, and most of my life I have been in public service, not just as a nurse, but going into the service. I can remember I was a Job's daughter. My grandfather's Masonic Lodge, Boomy Temple, and even being a Job's daughter most of my teenage life, we did things in the community and learned about the Book of Job as well, and things like that. And you carry that on your entire life. And then becoming a nurse, I've also a medical missionary. I've already hit the jackpot. First of all, born in the United States. We've all hit the jackpot.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like that. Yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
But I've changed the world. Like the man prior said, I've already changed the world. I've traveled to numerous countries and provided care, surgery to the indigent. There's, like Jesus said, you've done to the least of them, you've done to me. We've done that. We've go to areas that most people don't even know of. Our government doesn't go to Tumaco, Colombia, but we did, and we do these things to people just because we want to. They're not playing victim, no, but we do this because they don't have a chance. And the only chance they have is if we go there. So yes, it makes me feel good, but you're giving back. You're changing the world, like the man prior said. Mm-hmm. So it's just amazing.
Was there a moment in before you decided to be a candidate that something was in the news? Was there one thing that kind of pushed you over the top to want to run?
Yes, it's funny you asked that question. When we renew our licenses, we pay a fee. Well, a couple of years ago, it was an additional charge on there, and I go, well, what is this all about? This is not right. I don't agree to this. Well, and it just kind of struck me odd. And well, it's a small nominal fee that goes into a nursing debt forgiveness loan program, which is okay. I understand it, but yet you're requiring me to pay something for somebody else who has, needs to be debt forgiven, but yet is that really conservative? Now, the Tallahassee's rationale was that the nursing shortage, they wanted to help that with the nursing shortage. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that kind of struck me as a little odd. And I thought, wait a second. So it just got me thinking about politics and so forth and how things work in Tallahassee and the special interests and who lobbies harder. Like this Nurse Practice Act, which is really what I want to really research because Florida is behind. Some other states have already passed it, allowing nurses or advanced registered practice nurses that by 2020 will have a minimum entry of a PhD. But why can't we look at, Medicare? Healthcare is going to be an issue. It always is, rising costs and so forth. But what can we do that won't make the cost more? Well, these advanced nurse practitioners can transition out into the community, maybe make the house calls that they're able to assess and treat without having the regulations, hurting them. So more increased autonomy for these advanced practice nurses. It's going to restore dignity and independence back to that patient in their home. They don't have to schlep all the way over to a hospital facility or immediate care facility. It just gives them more independence and preserves their dignity. It's just kind of like a transition, a precursor to seeing a physician. So, start thinking outside the box, forward thinking, because it is going to be an issue. It's already an issue and it's going to get larger. Mm-hmm. So, things like that is what I want to concentrate on. And of course, ending the Common Core issues as well. And our water, our water is a hot topic as well here in the community. South Florida is already discharging water back into the aquifer. And I'm trying to do some research on that. And, are the hormones and medications being totally, siphoned out of that water before it's discharged back in there? Right, yeah. So what I've tried to do research is discovering is that, the natural grass and soil is to do its job is to take out contaminants and nitrates and so forth. So there's been a little theory, if you put it back into a retention pond first and let the soil and grass do its job, are they removed then? So trying to, look at those ideas and see if they're appropriate or not.
Yeah. Brigitte, you're a brilliant lady, and I'm so glad you're running for office. I support you, and hope our listeners are going to share this video with their friends. So I would like to see somebody in the House of Representatives that has your background, first of all, because I don't think there are too many people with a medical background.
We care. Nurses care.
That part right there. But everything else you've said, the one thing you said about paying for somebody else's debt, real quickly, one thought I have on this is that it looks good. Oh my gosh, yes, I'm a giving person. And then when you say I'm against that, somebody on the opposite side will say, I thought you were a Christian.
Right.
A Christian doesn't ask the government to give on their behalf. A Christian does it on his own.
That's right.
Or her own.
And that's right. And if you've got a second, I can tell you way back in the constitutional days, the French king sent somebody over, and I forgot his name, to see why it only took one revolution for the United States to be successful. And he went back to France, and he told him it's because the Americans were morally and principled people, and in every community there was a church that took care of the indigent and policed the indigent and so forth, and the sick. So, and they believed that charity began at the end of their own coat sleeves. Mm-hmm. And that's right.
And not only does the government should the government not have the ability to do charitable work on your behalf, but I don't trust them with charitable money.
I don't exactly.
I think there's a lot of
deficit, right?
There's a lot of money that if you give $10 in taxes to help relieve a nurse's debt, then probably $2 will get to that nurse.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a mess.
I don't have any left field questions for you today, by the way. Brigitte, thank you for coming in. Give us information so we can look you up on Facebook or wherever.
Yeah, I'm just on Facebook. I have a shoestring budget, so I'm on a website, but my Facebook page is Brigitte Smith for state representative, or just look up Brigitte Smith. It's spelled the different way. It's Brigitte. My email is brigittesmith37@yahoo.com. But I answer any question anybody proposes to me. I'm out there, accessible, and not afraid to answer any questions.
There you go. Share this video. This is already on YouTube as we chat. We got a new thing, Brigitte.
Oh, also,
it goes straight to YouTube.
No kidding.
Yeah, in fact, you're live.
Wow.
You're live right now. So there you go. Brigitte, thank you for what you're doing,
and
good luck. Good luck.
Yeah,
Please, everybody, share this with everybody you know. Thank you, Brigitte.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a little break. Rob and I will be doing News Bites right after this.
Honey Baked Ham of Ocala. They're having a special limited time offer picnic pack for just $19.99.
Oh?
You get a half pound of honey baked ham slices plus a